Hello and welcome to this video tutorial. In this exercise we are going to use clipping masks in combination with gradients. So you will begin with a file that looks like this. If you don't have it, then you will start a new file. You'll go File, New, and you'll start an A3 artboard. And let's work in millimeters. We don't need a bleed for this specific project. And I am going to say OK. And I'm going to say, I'm just going to make sure that the color mode is set to RGB. And then I'm going to import the image. So I'm going to go File, Place, and you will locate until you find your head image, and then you will just enter and it will appear on the center of your screen. And I'm just going to drag it smaller so it fits onto the artboard size, and then I will select embed. Alright. So this image, I'm also just going to, in my working file, I'm going to make it slightly smaller. I think that looks good. Alright. Also going to embed it. Okay. Now we are going to use the pencil tool to create 3 lines, sort of like contour lines around the head. So I'm just going to grab my zoom tool and I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Okay, I'm going to use the pencil tool. It's located here in the tools panel. The shortcut for it is N, and I'm going to draw my line that looks something like so, and at the moment it's filled with nothing and it has no stroke. I am going to give it a black stroke. There you go. And then I'm going to double click on this pencil tool, so the pencil tool pop-up box with the options appear, and I'm just going to make sure that its fidelity is kind of in the center, in the middle, and that Keep Selected is selected and Edit Selected Paths. And then I say OK. And now when I'm going to draw kind of over the same line, you're able to sort of edit and alter the line a little bit in terms of its position, if you want to manipulate it a little bit more. Okay, I think that looks quite good. Then I can start with my second set, and they're going to be here below the eyes. Okay, and I actually do like this line. It's better than my practice file. Alright, and then I'm going to do the third line. Like so, and I'm going to redraw this to have a bit more of a kink in it. Sorry. Double click again and say OK. Why don't you want to listen to me? There you go. Alright, I think, let me see. Okay, there I have my 3 lines. I am quite pleased with them. And then what we want to do is we want to use with the selection tool, you're going to select these 3 lines that you now drew with the pencil line, and you're going to make 2 more copies of it. So you basically are going to have 3 lines sitting on top of one another. You can use the keyboard shortcut of Control-C, Control-F, and then Control-F again, or you can use the long way and go Edit, Copy, and you say Edit. You see there it didn't copy. Edit, Copy, Edit, paste in front, Edit, paste in front. Alright, and just to show you and to make sure myself that my line, there you see I have 3 lines. Now that I zoomed in on this line, I actually don't like the look of it. So I'm just going to use the options from the fly out of the pen tool, and I'm going to, I just want to check, it looks like it kind of did a double up here. Let's see. That looks better. So object arrange, so center back. Now I'm just going to have to delete it from all 3 copies. So I'm just deleting those extra nodes. Object arrange, center back. Edit, copy, edit, paste in place. Alright, I'm just going to double check this line because see, edit, copy, edit, paste in place. Just want to make double sure. There, I have 3 lines. Good. Alright. Okay, and here as well. Copy, edit, paste in front. There we go. Alright, good. Okay, so now I've just zoomed out so that you can see what our artboard looks like. I have the image, and then I have 3 horizontal sort of contour inspired lines, and of each of these 3 lines there are 3 copies, one on top of one another. Alright, now we're going to zoom in to this bottom section of the image and till we get to this line. I'm going to use my selection tool. I'm going to select that line, and now I'm going to use the pencil tool again, so that's shortcut N, and I'm just going to continue drawing a closed path or a closed shape with this. You want to create a clipping mask ultimately. So I'm just going to go round, 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 round until I get up to about there. I'm going to zoom in, and then I use the direct selection tool to bring this closer in. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more, use my direct selection tool again. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more, and I want to make sure that they are as close to one another without being too difficult to select them. Then I select with the direct selection tool. I've now selected those 2 nodes. Then you go to Object, Path, and you join them together. To make a really clean join, you could first say Object, as we've done in the previous exercise, you find the average, of both. Let me just object, path, join. And then once you've done that, you'll have your shape. Okay. Alright, that looks good. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this image of the head and I'm going to copy it. So I'll say edit, copy, edit, paste in place so that they are also two images on top of one another. And then I'm going to say object, arrange, send to back, just to push this closed shape of the bottom part to the front. I select it, hold the shift key, and then I select one of the images, and then I'm going to make a clipping mask. So I go object, clipping mask, make, or control 7. And now let me show you, there is my first clipping mask image, and I'm going to send it to the back. So I go object, arrange, send to back, because we will use it later. Now we're going to apply the same principle to the top of the head. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer. I am going to select this line that I made with the pencil tool, and then I'm going to take said pencil tool, and I'm going to, as you can see what is happening at the insertion point of the mouse, the pen has got looks like a little minus or a small line. The star turns into a diagonal line. Then it means it's going to continuously draw from that point onward. Okay, and I'm going to try and do it as neatly as possible, which there my hand slipped, so it turned out to become a terrible selection. I'm just going to use the anchor point, the flyout, minimize, minus, delete anchor point tools, and anchor point tool under the pen flyout to just make the curve more neat. And then I'm going to use my direct selection to also again bring this line as close as possible to this corner. So now we need to join these 2 points together. As close as possible. Hold the shift key. Now I've selected them both, object, path, and join to create a closed shape. Alright, then I'm going to choose my image again, and I'm going to copy it, edit, copy, edit, paste in place, and I'm going to go object, arrange, send to back, so that it will bring this closed shape that we just created to the front. Then it's easier just to select it. So I'm selecting it, I'm holding the shift key, and then I'm going to select one of the images, and I'm going to create a clipping mask. So you can do the keyboard shortcut of control 7, or you can go object, clipping mask, and make. And there is our next clipping mask. And then I'm going to say object, arrange, send to back. Alright, just so that it's easier to work with this midsection now. And I'm going to just save my file so that I'm sure that I have done it. In case something happens, that I won't lose it. All right. All right, there we're back. I'm going to zoom in. Okay, so let's work with this midsection where we have the nose, and we want to obviously we want to join these two lines together. So all we need to do is to draw a space. So you can use the pencil tool again, but in this case I think it's actually going to be easier to work with the pen tool. That can be our secret. So I'm using the pen tool, I'm selecting the pen tool, I'm clicking on that node, and you can see the moment my mouse is very close to that node, there is that, again, that diagonal short line that starts to appear. That's going to tell me that I am now connecting to a line, which is great because we obviously want to connect shapes with one another. And then I'm just clicking and dragging to create this nice curvature shape. Then I click on this node to remove this handle that you saw. I'm going to zoom in a little bit further and select my pen tool again, and I just click on that one, and when we get close to this line it's going to say anchor, and now I can know that it has connected those two lines on that side. And then I'm going to do it on the other side again. I'm just going to zoom in. This one is going to be a little bit easier because my overlap was neater. So I'm going to select, you can see that minus appears. I'm going to select that node and I'm going to join it here at the other node. I'm actually going to do it this way around. First draw it and then zoom in, just so that I can have a bit more control over what I'm doing. Then I can actually see what I'm doing. And now I'm going to have to join them, unfortunately, because I can't use hold the shift key, select the second node, and I go object path, and I just say join. Alright, there I've joined an image. Alright, so now I have this shape as a closed path. Then I select the photo image again, and I'm going to copy it, edit, copy, edit, paste in place, and I'm going to just move this image to the back, send to back, so that this shape comes nicely to the fore. And I select it, and I select the image, and then I just go object, clipping mask, and I say make. Alright, great. And then I can send object arrange, send to back. Okay. And then I just have one more section left, which is the section with the eyes. No. Wait. Before I confuse myself, I just want to see. Alright. Yes. Okay, we still have to now create the section with the eyes. Just want to make sure. Okay, that's good. Alright, so I'm going to use the pen tool again, and I'm just going to connect this line to this line at the top. Zoom in, so I'll have more control, and then I'll just use the direct selection tool to make sure they'll be pretty close to one another. Alright, so zoom in a bit more, pen tool. Alright. and then I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm actually going to extend these lines a little bit. With the direct selection tool, I select the node and I just extend the line. Okay, just so that it extends to the, just slightly beyond the edge of that image. Alright. Okay, and then I use the pen tool, and then I just drag a circular shape as much as possible. Sorry, that was too much. Alright, that looks good. Alright, and then I can select my image, shift, and I select this shape. We don't need to duplicate the image because we're not going to use it again. And I say Object, Clipping Mask, and I say Make. And now I have this image sort of cut into 4 sections. Control S. Alright, after we've saved, now we are going to separate these 4 sections. So I'm going to select my first top 2, and I'm just with the arrow keys going to move it up a little bit, and now I'm going to just optically move it. So I'm going to try and, with my eyes, determine a relative equal width negative space in between the 4 shapes, give or take. Alright, so there we've separated our image, and now we are going to create our corresponding sort of slides. We're going to use the pencil tool again. I'm going to zoom in. Alright. And you can see I've got another line still left here. I'm actually just going to, just for posterity's sake, Alright, so you see I still have one line left. I'm just going to move it down so that it sits neatly on top of that image, and then I'm going to select the pencil tool again. Sorry. Select the pencil tool, and I'm going to create a type of elliptical shape like so. I'm going to use my zoom tool to move in closer, and again use direct selection tool to move the sky as close as possible, and then the shift key to select those 2 nodes, and then I go so Object, Path, and Join to make sure it's a closed path. Okay, I did not select it, sorry. I'm going to zoom out. I'm just going to zoom out. It's accidentally selected the image. Right, use direct selection tool again. Okay, select both nodes, Object, Path, and you say Join. There you go. Alright, that looks good. Alright, so now I will have a closed shape, And this I am going to fill with a turquoise color that is preloaded as part of my swatches panel group. It's this color here. I'm going to make sure that it's filled with no stroke, but with that turquoise color. And I'm just going to double click on the image, on the color, so you can see in the color picker what this color looks like. It is as an RGB color, it's 0174,168. Okay. And then I have to move it to the back, so I'm going to say Object Arrange, Send to Back. Alright, that looks good. Right, I'm going to do the same for this midsection and the top section. So we'll meet up after we've done this. Alright, now I've created two more shapes and filled them with a color. This one is a nice hot pink. You can see it's at 223, 57 and 97 in terms of its color composition. And the lime, if I use the color picker, it's 167, 204 with blue of 109. They're all RGB colors. Alright, and then what you're going to do is you're going to group your color shape with the corresponding head strip. So this lime green, hold the shift key and I select the eyes and I'm just going to group it. And then I'd select the pink, hold the shift key with the nose section and I group it. And I select the turquoise, hold the bottom section and I group it. And now what we are going to do is we are going to, just going to move this to the front. Alright, the head obviously doesn't have a color shape attached to it. And I'm just using the selection tool, and when you get to the corner you'll see sort of the insertion point of the mouse. It makes a nice curve and that allows you to rotate shapes or objects sort of in a free transform manner. So I'm just going to flip them a little bit. Alright, let's just deselect. Okay, I think we can go a bit more extreme here. I think that looks good. Okay. Now we're going to create the shadow gradients. So I'm going to zoom in closer to this bottom section, and I don't need to ungroup grouped objects to be able to edit shapes or aspects of that group. I can just double click until I reach the shape I want to alter. So because we want to alter this turquoise shape, I'm just going to double click on it and you'll see now we're in the group, and I double click on it again and now I am in the shape itself. Now I can apply a radial gradient to it, so I go to my gradients panel and I choose radial gradient, and you're going to see it automatically kind of create a gradient for me. I want it to go from dark to light, so I'm going to click reverse it, and I'm going to click on the gradient slider. I'm going to click on this white color stop, double click on it, and I'm going to navigate to my swatches and I'm going to choose that turquoise color again. And this black is too it's too muted for, it's not a rich black, so I'm also actually going to double click on that black to make it a what's called a black blue. And you can see if you want to look at its color composition, I can go out of this group quickly, so you can see what that, from the swatches panel, what that color composition is like. And you can see sort of, let's alter it. I don't know why the you can see it's RGB, it's 4, 15, 16. It's not a pure black, there's a lot of blue and other colors in it. Alright, I'm going to go back into this shape and alright, just checking my notes quickly. Alright, then I can also, I obviously want this gradient not to be flat in a strange center, I want it to make sense. So now I can use the gradient tool to make this circle more an elliptical shape, so I'm going to narrow it a little bit. I can also move the origin point, I can rotate it, and I can also move that axis point. I just want to get to it. There we go. Okay, so it's a little bit further in, and I can make this black a little bit stronger. Alright, and then I'm going to navigate out of it, out of the group, so that I can see what my gradient has done. And I must say, I do kind of like that. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a gradient to this midsection, this pink section and the lime section, so that it corresponds, it just gives it a sense of depth, so that it's not just a flat, bold color shape. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we circle back to each other once that's done. Alright, this is what our image looks like thus far. Now we can round off the edges, so I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to select, double click until I isolate this original shape. I'm going to duplicate it, so I go Control C and Control F, or edit paste in front, and I'm going to remove the fill, and I'm going to give it a gradient, a linear gradient stroke, linear, and I'm going to give it from a dark to a light gray, just 2 color stops. So I'm going to double click, I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna give it a dark gray of 88. Let's see what this will look like. 8, 9, and blue of 9.1 to a very light gray. Double click on my light gray, and I'm gonna give it a light gray of 230, green of 231, and blue 232. Enter. Let's see what that looks like. I kind of like that. Now it is, let's see, and I'm going to make my stroke just a little bit maybe thicker, and I'm going to round off the edges. I think that looks nice. Alright, and then I'm going to do it for this mid shape as well. No fill, and one here, and I'm gonna give it that gradient again. I'm actually just gonna do something quickly, because I'm going to use this gradient a couple of times, so I'm going to add this gradient. Sorry, I'm going to add the dark gray and the light gray to my swatches panel. So that is just going to make life a lot easier for me. Wait. going to say create new swatch. Okay, and then I'm going to add the light gray as well to the swatches panel. 232, 231, and 232 again. Alright. Okay, now I can apply it to my, oops, sorry. I can apply it to this shape, linear from dark gray to light gray. And just going to make sure that the edges are rounded off a little bit. Alright, and then I'm going to do it for this last shape as well. I'm just going to copy it, and I'm going to give it no fill, and I'm going to give it a linear gradient of dark gray to light gray. Alright, that looks good. Then I'm going to draw a rectangle, a background color. Using the rectangle tool, I'm just going to drag a shape, a rectangle shape, and I'm going to fill it with a radial fill from that dark gray to the light gray. I'm just going to isolate it a little bit. That looks good. Alright, and I'm going to make, no, not going to make that any opacity. That looks good. Then I can move it to the back. So I can say object arrange send to back. That just takes away a bit of the starkness of the white artboard, and then the image looks like it's settled onto this a bit. And then I'm going to just add the final touches. I'm going to use the ellipse tool to draw an ellipse shape roughly the size of the width of the head, and I'm going to place it just below. And I'm going to add a radial gradient again from dark to light. Then I use the gradient tool. I'm just going to make sure that it fits sort of on the inside of those edges. Drag it out again. I think that looks good. And then I'm going to make sure that its opacity is dialed down. The white or the outskirts of that gradient, the opacity, I'm setting it to 20%. And the dark gray, I'm going to set that opacity to 90%. Alright, that looks nice. And then I'm going to just add some typography to it, and I'm going to make sure that it is aligned to the center of the artboard. Object arrange bring to front, and then I can just make sure that it's nicely settled in the center. Okay, that looks nice. Alright, and there we have our final work done. Thanks for being here. See you next time. Bye!